The animal kingdom. A remarkable collection of living, breathing natural wonders. Enthralling. Impressive. Tenacious. And nurturing. Innovative. Tough. Surprising. Always genuine. Discover their past, present, and future. Just breathtaking. Just intriguing. Just tremendous. Just animals. Octopuses. Chameleons of the sea. Not only are they masters of disguise, they also have unrivaled flexibility and brilliant problem-solving skills. Along with squid, cuttlefish, and nautiluses, they make up a group of soft-bodied marine animals known as cephalopods. The name comes from the Greek, meaning head-foot, an apt description of their most obvious physical features. While they may seem simplistic in design, they're highly intelligent. From the tiny pygmy squid, barely the size of a fingernail, to its giant cousin, which grows longer than a school bus. These fascinating animals are more than just items on a seafood menu. They are the colossal tentacled monsters that put fear into ancient mariners, beings that captured the curiosity of the Greek philosopher Aristotle. Remarkable for their abundance of limbs and jet propulsion, these highly evolved animals are found in all the world's oceans, from the surface down to 7 kilometers deep. Despite all their talents, the majority will live for less than a year, just long enough to breed. A short but spectacular existence for animals born to be different. For a unique group of creatures, cephalopods still have much in common with other members of the animal kingdom. The absence of a backbone makes them an invertebrate, a classification that encompasses more than 95% of all animal species. Insects, spiders, and crabs belong to the largest group of these spineless specimens, collectively known as arthropods. The next biggest phylum of invertebrates is Mollusca, a wide-ranging collection of animals including almost a quarter of all marine organisms. Its name comes from the Latin word for soft, although most of its members have a hard shell. This solid covering of calcium carbonate is secreted from a cloak-like body wall called the mantle. It's a thin layer of tissue which wraps around the internal organs and is one of the few anatomical features that all mollusks have in common. Another is the foot, although the form it takes depends on its function. For some, it's a means of propulsion. In others, it's a device to catch prey. The majority of mollusks have a head that contains their brain, but a few lack either of these features. Instead, they function with just a basic nervous system. Around the globe, it's estimated there are 100,000 species of these soft-bodied animals. With such diversity, mollusks are separated into 7 classes. The gastropods are the largest group. It includes snails and slugs that live above and below the waterline, from the common garden variety through to vividly coloured nudibranchs. Bivalves are another dominant class. Their hinged shell protects a delicate interior. Clams, mussels, and oysters all belong to this group. The third largest class of mollusks are the cephalopods. They are the only group where all members are marine animals. Most lack the characteristic shell that is synonymous with the phylum, but that doesn't mean it's disappeared completely. Cuttlefish and squid have internalized their shells, while the octopus has evolved to a point of abandoning theirs. The Nautilus still has its on display. All cephalopods have multiple limbs, but depending on the species, the numbers vary from less than 10 to almost 100. These appendages are designed for capturing food. Unlike most other mollusks, cephalopods are exclusively carnivores, meat eaters. Cephalopods are the only mollusk with a closed circulatory system, meaning blood can only flow through vessels, such as arteries and veins. This is far more efficient than an open circuit, where the heart pumps blood into body cavities. As a result, cephalopods are faster than other mollusks. They're also more intelligent. Their advanced cognitive function is due to the largest brain-to-body ratio of any invertebrate. Amongst cephalopods, there is an odd one out. Nautiluses are considered a throwback to their gastropod ancestors. They're less developed than octopuses, squid, and cuttlefish, so form a separate subclass called Nautiloidea. All 6 members lack the complex nervous system that helps their close relatives to camouflage. Instead, they're forced to carry their multi-chambered shell around for protection. They also have an abundance of limbs called cirri, 50 for females, up to 90 for males, more than any other animal in their class. The other 3 types of cephalopods have enough in common to be grouped together into the subclass Coleoidea. They all have chromatophores, pigment cells that can be altered to either attract attention or help the animal blend into the background. Ink sacs are another feature shared by this trio. To confuse predators, they can release a dark cloud of the pigment melanin into the water. There are some obvious differences amongst coleoids as well. While those in the superorder Octopodoformes have no internal shell, They all have 8 strong arms covered in suckers to help them grip prey. Squid and cuttlefish make up the superorder Decapodiformes. Just like their relative, the octopus, they all have 4 pairs of arms, but they have 2 additional retractable tentacles, long limbs that lack the strength of their other appendages, but give them greater reach at mealtime. They also have at least some evidence of an internal shell. There are 4 orders within this group. Cuttlefish have their own, as do their closely related cousins, the bobtail squids. All remaining squid families are bunched together, except for the ram's horn, which has its own order. Another one-of-a-kind cephalopod is the vampire squid. Despite what its name suggests, this deep-water organism looks more like an octopus, but isn't classified as either of these animals. While cephalopods generally share the same basic body structure, there is remarkable variation amongst these unusual marine animals. In the world's oceans, it's estimated there are close to 800 species of cephalopods that come in all shapes and sizes. Octopuses account for more than a third of these. They are a diverse group of marine animals, ranging from the comical to the colourful and the deadly. The common octopus is the most widespread of the species. Growing to just under a metre long, it's only a tenth of the size of the largest octopus, the giant Pacific. But the common octopus's problem-solving abilities make it the most intelligent. It's found in the shallows in tropical and temperate waters, around coral reefs and rocky coastlines. Common octopuses prefer water temperatures of 15 to 16 degrees Celsius. During the hotter months, they'll swim deeper than usual to avoid the warm uppermost layers. Like all octopuses, they have venomous saliva and hard, scissor-like beaks, the perfect combination to subdue, then slice up prey. The world's smallest octopus, the wolfie, weighs only 1 gram, the same as a paperclip. It lives in the shallows of the Western Pacific. In contrast, the Dumbo octopus prefers depths of 4,000 meters or greater. The average Dumbo is 20 to 30 centimeters in length. An inhabitant of many oceans, these intriguing cephalopods are named after a beloved animated character, in celebration of their most obvious feature. Like their cartoon namesake, they use their ear-like fins to fly or propel themselves through the water. These flaps also help with steering. One of their smaller relatives from the waters of northern Australia and Southeast Asia couldn't look more different. This is an algae octopus. Growing to about 6 centimeters, these cephalopods live in the shallows, taking refuge in dens built on the sandy floor. The Indo-Pacific region hosts a pair of octopuses that look like twins, the mimic and wonderpus octopus. When their slender limbs are stretched out, they measure around 60 centimeters. The feature that helps distinguish them are the longer eye stalks on the wonderpus. The coconut octopus is only a quarter of the size of its more colourful cousins, but it's adept at disappearing. This resourceful animal will use anything within arm's reach to survive in the muddy substrate of the western Pacific Ocean. Its name comes from its preferred choice of lodging. And when carrying its home proves too difficult, there are other ways to get about. The Mototi is another small species. This one has an inbuilt survival tactic. It displays 2 blue rings to warn potential predators it could be poisonous. There's no mistaking the threat posed by a similar-sized relative. The highly venomous blue-ringed octopus uses colourful markings to show it's dangerous. In nature, this type of vivid signal is known as aposematic coloration. Commonly found in tidal pools of the Indo-Pacific, the blue-ringed octopus carries enough neurotoxins to take out 26 humans. Fortunately, they're generally shy and won't attack unless disturbed. A blue-ringed toxin is delivered via biting, the venom being stored in their salivary glands. The sand octopus lacks the color-changing abilities of its relatives. Instead, this mid-sized cephalopod opts to bury itself to escape danger. The bobtail squid employs a similar survival strategy. It lives in the sand and mud in the coastal waters of the Indian, Pacific, and Atlantic Oceans. Roughly the size of a thumb, this tiny cephalopod has few options to protect itself, apart from hiding during the day when its predators are active. It's one of more than 300 species of squid. Included in their ranks are the largest and smallest of all cephalopods. On the dainty side is the aptly named pygmy squid, which is less than half the size of the bobtail. It's found around mangroves and seagrass beds. A glue gland on its upper body allows it to bond onto marine plants, helping it remain undetected. The colossal and giant squids are at the other end of the size spectrum. Despite living in every ocean, these cephalopods are rare to see, as they prefer to remain at least 300 meters below the surface. Encounters with bigfin reef squid are more common. They grow to a less daunting 30 centimeters and shelter around shallow reef and sea plants in the warmer waters of the Indo-Pacific region. They're often mistaken for cuttlefish because of their namesake fin that extends the length of their mantle. Pajama squid cause some confusion as well. Despite what their common name suggests, they're actually tiny members of the cuttlefish family. Their black stripes are a warning sign to predators that these Australian cephalopods are poisonous. If threatened, they release a toxic slime from under their mantle. The flamboyant cuttlefish is another small creature with a deadly payload. Most of the time, this unusual-looking creature from the Indo-Pacific wanders the ocean floor in search of food. But if it fears an attack, it takes on a different persona. By raising its membranes and flashing vibrant colors, it signals to other animals that its flesh is poisonous. In comparison, the broad club cuttlefish would rather hide than face a predator. Growing up to half a meter, it's the second largest of the 120 members in its family. They are a shallow water species, found throughout the Indo-Pacific region, in depths of less than 50 meters. Their bigger cousin, the giant cuttlefish, has a smaller, more specific range. They're only found around the coast of Australia. Its mantle measures 50 centimeters, but with the addition of arms and tentacles, its length doubles. When not hunting for food, these gentle giants rest amongst coral and seagrass. Finally, the Nautiluses, the only group of cephalopods that don't seek the shelter of the ocean floor or reefs. These shelled animals live at varying depths in the Western Pacific and Indian Oceans, descending below 200 meters during the day, then rising at night to hunt. If threatened, their only option is to retreat into their mobile home. Of the 6 species, the chambered is the most common. It's also known as the pearly, or emperor nautilus, due to its impressive shell, which can grow up to 27 centimeters in diameter. From the depths to the shallows, cephalopods have found a place for themselves in every ocean on Earth. For such simple animals, cephalopods have an impressive selection of survival strategies at their disposal. The most obvious is their ability to hide in plain sight to fool predators and prey. Octopuses, squid, and cuttlefish all have chromatophores, skin cells made up of sacs of pigment that are controlled by a delicate network of muscles to alter the animal's appearance. When muscles contract, the cells expand, forcing the sac to the surface to make the color more visible. There are up to 200 of these chromatophores for every square millimeter of skin, and they're responsible for displaying black, brown, orange, red, and yellow. Blue, silver, and green hues are produced by a second layer of cells called iridophores. These plates of protein can reflect the environment like a mirror to help the cephalopod make the perfect color match. Octopuses and cuttlefish take camouflage a step further, changing their skin texture to match their surroundings. This complex process is achieved through the manipulation of bumps known as papillae. When muscles contract, nubs appear. Octopus or cuttlefish can maintain these bumps for up to an hour. But if they choose to swim to evade a predator, their cover is blown. As soon as their muscles relax, the skin smooths out to reduce drag while making their getaway. The algae octopus has a more permanent disguise. The algae-like filaments on its body make it look like a clump of old seaweed tumbling on the sandy floor. To deter predators, both the mimic and wonderpuss octopus prefer to impersonate dangerous marine animals. If under threat, they can transform to look like a toxic lionfish or banded sea crate. While squid don't have this morphing ability, Some species have their own trick for securing a meal or staying safe. They're able to produce light energy through a chemical reaction known as bioluminescence. These blinding flashes are designed to confuse both predator and prey, giving squid the advantage during nighttime feeding sprees. While many cephalopods have the ability to react to visual stimuli around them, scientists suspect they may be colorblind. Octopuses, cuttlefish, and squid all have large eyes that function in a similar way to a human's, but they lack the red, blue, and green cones we use to determine color. These cephalopods are more advanced, however, in how they deal with polarized light. Their eyes can see through glary conditions and create an accurate picture of what's in front of them. Or, in the case of cuttlefish, what's behind them as well. Their unique W-shaped pupils give them a wide range of horizontal vision, allowing them to switch their attention between forward and backward views. As with most aspects of their biology, the eye in a nautilus is far more basic than its fellow cephalopods. Their pinhole pupil can dilate or constrict depending on light intensity, but the image it provides is of little use to this shelled animal. Fortunately, it has an excellent sense of smell to track down prey. Nautilus have an ingenious way of adjusting their buoyancy as they slowly travel vertically between the depths and shallows to feed. An adult shell can have as many as 30 chambers, all connected by a soft tube called a siphuncle. To dive deep, the animal floods these compartments with water. To rise up, it adds gas instead. Cuttlefish have a similar system of buoyancy control. They adjust the levels of gas and water in their porous internal shell, known as a cuttlebone. But that's not their only means of movement. Along with octopuses, several species of cuttlefish have learned how to use their appendages to walk. This technique is used for traveling short distances, when staying close to the ocean floor is preferable. All cephalopods have a more efficient mode of transportation: jet propulsion. They draw water into their mantle cavity, then expel it at pressure through a tube called a siphon. Some species of squid and octopuses can achieve speeds of up to 40 kilometers an hour using this method. But they can only sustain that pace for short bursts. Regardless of the challenges they face, all cephalopods have developed natural talents to survive life in the sea. Cephalopods come from a long line of mollusks, dating back to before the dinosaurs. Their earliest ancestors lived more than 500 million years ago, evolving from an ancient group of gastropods. These primitive cephalopods had straight shells and lived on the ocean floor. Over time, coiled shells evolved, which were stronger and allowed better maneuverability. The addition of buoyancy control allowed these ancient creatures greater scope to hunt at different depths. Nautiluses are the closest descendants of these early cephalopods, earning them the title of living fossils. While many of their relatives shed their protective shells in favor of heightened intelligence and flexible arms, nautiloids held on to theirs, which scientists believe is the key to their longevity. It's been theorized that a giant asteroid hit the Earth 66 million years ago. This catastrophic event wiping out much of life on land and causing oceans to turn acidic. Researchers think that nautiluses survived this disaster by staying deep and retreating into their shells. By slowing their heart rate to just 2 beats a minute, they were able to live off the air trapped inside their home. Most cephalopods were not as fortunate. As fish and marine mammal numbers started to grow, members of the mollusk family couldn't compete for food against these swift swimmers and became targets themselves. For every species of cephalopod alive today, 20 others have perished over the ages. An estimated loss of close to 17,000 different kinds of animals. In the modern world, their relatives are a diverse bunch. With their noticeable head and trailing foot, gastropods such as snails and nudibranchs have obvious traits in common with cephalopods. As do chitons with their embedded shells. Soft-bodied bivalves, such as clams, are part of the family, but the similarities are less pronounced. While researchers have learned a lot about cephalopods by studying their fossils and by observing them in action, there continue to be large gaps in their history. This is particularly true for the octopus, which leaves behind no shell or skeleton. The fact they exist in modern times is, however, a testament to their ability to endure through the ages. Cephalopods are the loners of the invertebrate world, and for very good reason. With their reliance on stealth rather than speed for hunting, their solitary existence means less competition for food. When it's not feeding, an octopus will sometimes build itself a den to hide in, rearranging rubble to make its location less obvious to predators. Any gap in the reef will also suffice. Their pliable bodies can squeeze into a tight space as long as it's larger than their beak. The only time octopuses are seen together is when it's time to mate. It's a similar story for cuttlefish, solitary for most of their lives, except during the breeding season. Instinct brings giant cuttlefish together in their thousands off the coast of South Australia. The only time these normally placid animals get aggressive is when they're trying to mate. Males asserting their dominance in a particularly colourful way. Some species of squid are more social than other cephalopods, choosing to swim in schools known as squads. They will opt for safety in numbers close to the surface, clustering in loose formations when they're most vulnerable to attack. Cephalopods are not known for epic migrations, but they sometimes travel hundreds of kilometers between spawning and feeding grounds. They might not be the most social or well-traveled of animals, but these perceptive, adaptable creatures are well equipped to live in the world on their own. For most cephalopods, life is short. Consequently, mating is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, so they make it as memorable as possible. A male octopus puts on a colourful show to attract a female. Even at his psychedelic best, his advances aren't always successful. But with persistence, his potential partner is finally won over. Sperm packets, known as spermatophore, are transferred to the female via a specialized arm called a hectocotylus. This is the common reproductive technique for most cephalopods. After a successful delivery, the male withdraws his arm, and the female swims off to scout for a safe place to deposit up to 100,000 eggs. In a rare display of cephalopod devotion, she'll stay with her brood until just before they hatch, to ensure they remain unharmed. Mating is more of an all-in affair for squid and cuttlefish. They come together in mass gatherings where competition is fierce. At this breeding site for giant cuttlefish, there are twice as many males as females, and they will do whatever it takes to pass on their genes. Like the octopus, they show their true colors during mating season. This male is displaying red on one side of his fin to warn others to keep their distance. A female can mate with several different partners over a number of days. She stores multiple sperm packets in a cavity near her mouth until she decides which is the most desirable to fertilize her eggs. The largest and most dominant males have the best chance of mating, and they're not above using some underhanded tactics to ensure their success. It's not uncommon for a male to squirt water at the female's face to flush out any other spermatophores before depositing his own. They will then stand guard to ensure no competitors get close. When the female is ready to lay her eggs, she will choose somewhere protected, away from the current, placing each one individually to give it the best chance of survival. The process is slow going, with hundreds of eggs to hide. This will be the last of her parental duties. Like most cephalopods, the male and female will die before their youngsters hatch. Over the next 2 months, the contents of these tiny sacs develop into miniature cuttlefish. With no adults to guide them, they emerge with an instinct to hunt. Inside the egg, they begin to track movements of small fish and crustaceans around them. These will become their preferred prey. Squid have a similar start to life. In patches of seagrass, the mother distributes thousands of eggs, all coated in a sticky mucus to help them remain in place. Months later, the tiny hatchlings will be swept up into clouds of plankton. During this in-between, or paralarval stage, these youngsters become part of the food chain. Growth is rapid. Starting at just a few millimeters long, they increase in size by 5% daily. Yet only a few will survive this dangerous stage of development. Octopuses, squid, and cuttlefish mature quickly. As semiparous animals, they will only mate once. Their life expectancy is between 1 to 3 years, depending on the species. A Nautilus can survive for about 20 years. As they get older, they add chambers to their shell, so the size of their home becomes a reliable indication of their age. They can reproduce multiple times throughout their life, making them an anomaly amongst cephalopods. Octopuses, squid, and cuttlefish pack a lot into their short time on Earth. Their cycle of life ending as a new one begins. In the marine food chain, cephalopods play an important role, both as predators and prey. In the Southern Ocean, squid are second only to krill as a food source for large vertebrates, such as sperm whales and albatross. Near the surface, dolphins and seals are known to target octopuses and cuttlefish. Deeper in the water column, the biggest threats are sharks, moray eels, and other large fish. Cephalopods are accomplished hunters themselves, none more so than the octopus. These cunning carnivores come well equipped to capture their prey. Other mollusks and crustaceans dominate its diet, but fish, baby turtles, and other octopuses are all up for grabs. These cephalopods have 8 powerful arms covered in hundreds of suckers that create a tight seal around their food. The largest suction cups on a common octopus can hold up to 15 kilograms, more than its own weight. These remarkable devices do more than simply grip the prey. Before taking a bite, an octopus can taste its meal through sensors on its suckers. Should their catch pass the taste test, venom is delivered from the beak, not enough to kill the animal, but sufficient to paralyze it. This toxic dose has another purpose. It dissolves tissue that connects a mollusk's or crustacean shell to the animal's body, making consumption easier. An octopus can often be tracked down by piles of discarded shells, known as middens, outside their den. All cephalopods use their sharp beaks to tear their meals into tiny chunks. It's important the food is small, because their esophagus runs straight through their brain before reaching their digestive system, feeding their most essential organ, thirst. Octopuses have huge appetites, which means they have a major impact on marine ecosystems. Researchers in California found an 80% decline in the local octopus population was responsible for a 500% increase in gastropod and hermit crab populations. Squid are also good eaters, consuming close to a third of their body weight each day. Along with cuttlefish, their diet is similar to the octopus. These hunters having the bonus of 2 retractable tentacles that can stretch out longer than their arms. They also have suckers or sharp hooks to better grasp their prey. As cuttlefish grow and become faster, their diet shifts from crustaceans to fish and other cephalopods. These foods provide more energy, allowing them to take on even bigger prey. For cephalopods, it's a case of eat and be eaten, as mid-level players in the food web of the ocean. For animals that pose very little threat to humans, cephalopods have often been cast as daunting in popular culture. With their long limbs and legendary proportions, octopuses and giant squid were regularly portrayed as monsters of the deep that instilled fear in ancient seafarers. In Scandinavian folklore, these giants are known as kraken, mythical Nordic creatures capable of drawing ships down to a watery grave. The Romans revered them for their strength. An early mosaic found in the city of Pompeii depicts an octopus overpowering a crustacean. In Polynesia, they're known as Kanaloa, a god of the underworld and teacher of magic. Over time, their mystical qualities have been surpassed by their practical applications. The reddish-brown ink of cuttlefish was once used for painting and writing. Known as sepia, it was so similar to the color in early photos, the term has stuck and now refers to a special effect applied to digitally enhanced pictures. The darker ink from squid is widely used in cooking to add flavor and color to pastas and rice. Intricate Nautilus shells have been turned into works of art, prized for their delicate patterns and chambers. These accomplished divers have also lent their name to a fantastic submarine, the literary character Captain Nemo, used to explore 20,000 leagues under the sea. Up at the surface, cuttlebones are collected by beachcombers. These porous internal shells are a source of calcium for caged birds. Whether they're seen as useful trash or collectible treasure, powerful gods or fearsome leviathans, these ocean-dwelling creatures have left an indelible mark on civilizations across the globe. At a time when many oceanic animals are under threat, populations of squid, octopuses and cuttlefish are thriving, and that's no coincidence. This adaptable trio exploits gaps in the food chain caused by extreme climate change and overfishing. Typically, the top predators are targeted first. These fishing habits have a twofold effect on cephalopod populations. Fewer of these soft-bodied animals fall prey, plus they experience less competition for food. With their limited lifespan and rapid growth, cephalopods have learnt to respond quickly to any disturbance in their ecosystem. They are also highly tolerant of different environmental factors. A warm change in sea temperatures is often a trigger to mate, but when conditions aren't ideal, they can delay their maturation. In one such case, a population of Humboldt squid off California postponed breeding for an extra year, and in the process, grew to 10 times their normal size. Researchers have found squid are also well equipped to handle rising levels of carbon dioxide produced by the burning of fossil fuels. Cephalopods are notoriously difficult to count, but based on commercial fishing catches across the world, there has been a substantial increase in populations in recent years. Unfortunately, Nautiluses haven't fared as well. Demand for their attractive shells as decorative pieces has caused their numbers to plummet. Since 2017, this ancient creature has been officially protected. Scientists are cautiously optimistic that nautiluses are beginning to recover from their population depletion. Overall, cephalopods are a hardy clan, despite their soft bodies. These intelligent mollusks have learned to adapt to the world around them. Using their long list of talents to make the most of their short lives. These are the survivors of the sea. The Nautilus, Squid, Cuttlefish, and Octopus.